New at 11, when South Bend's new tribal casino and village opens up, it comes with a new set of rules. Now, this land is known as a federal trust. And Suzanne, at 6 o'clock, you showed us what this property would look like, but sovereign land is something we haven't experienced in South Bend.
Or in Indiana, Rick, but this is the first for our state as well. From the beginning of this process, the Pokagon Band of Potawatomi Indians have wanted you to feel welcome. But there's something to keep in mind here. This land is governed by them, policed by them, and we dove into the differences and what you need to know. For nearly 200 years, the Pokagon Band populated along the St. Joseph River. Their homes lit the way for future generations. But the lights went dark on their future for years.
We police when they violate the rules.
Rules are different today on Pokagon territory. Tribal police force enforces those rules, led by Chief William Lux.
We won third place in the Michigan Association of Police Chiefs car contest.
New car logos reflect a changing time in history for the Pokagons.
This was coming in and kind of with the police department creating my own culture and the tribe supporting me on that, but building and growing.
Lux takes pride in building his force of at least 40. He's not a Pokagon citizen, but spent the majority of his law enforcement career in Van Buren County.
They don't really necessarily want to give that facade that we are in another country, but realistically by law you really are, because the way that things are governed are a lot different than outside our property lines.
The Pokagon people are held to their rules, their regulations, and when you're there, so are you.
7301.
Tribal police are in the process of adding a substation to the South Bend property, complete with 8 to 10 police officers.
Law enforcement is law enforcement. You're still upholding the law.
The only ones allowed to arrest there will be tribal police and St. Joseph County officers who entered a cross-deputization agreement. Indiana State Police can also step in. But they're the only agencies allowed to have guns on the property. The law prohibits anyone else to carry.
What a sovereign nation does, it allows you to create your own laws and your own codes.
It does not mean that the tribe can do whatever it wants.
Judge Michael Petoskey built tribal court into the place that it is today. He's been a tribal judge for years alongside others at the Dowagiac headquarters.
Typically, the way that we used to resolve conflicts and disputes is not by going to court. This has really kind of been forced upon us by the overlay of federal law and expectations that people now have about what a court ought to look like.
From the outside, it may look like just another building, but inside, Judge Petoskey wanted a place that looks different from a typical courtroom.
I just love this poster, Sacred Justice.
The judge uses the poster when addressing the court to describe the difference in worldview between Native and non-Native people. A medicine bag is always in the courtroom, and an eagle feather is too, cherished and coveted by the tribal people.
So the little bit that we have in terms of being able to preserve our culture, preserve our heritage, build upon what our ancestors have provided are extremely important.
But most cases in tribal court are between Pokagon citizens.
I would say people going to tribal properties have nothing to fear unless they're up to no good. And then if they're up to no good and they're charged with a crime, they're not coming to tribal court, they're going to go to state court or federal court.
Which court you go to depends on the crime and if both parties are Native or non-Native.
And a challenge for us in developing the tribal courts was to develop court systems that have credibility as people look in the fishbowl to see what we're doing, but also have the respect of people in the community itself.
Because building a community is made up of so many parts, the people, the rules, and keeping order. But it circles back to a goal that the Pokagons have been trying to achieve for years.
I think the hope was that we would be accepted. I think that's the great hope, and we have been.
The tribal police are dealing with many of the same issues that community police face. They're also working to recruit more officers, or in also the process of implementing body cameras as well.
And you mentioned the Pokagons have casinos in other counties, and they've done this before.
Right. I talked to the Berrien County prosecutor, who basically said the most common case that he handles related to casinos are actually stolen wallet cases, believe it or not. So part of the casino tribal village, and the casino will of course be open in 2018. So we've got this story as well as the first story that we looked into in terms of what this will look like, posted on WSBT.com.
All right, Suzanne, thanks.